so this book, that was, I worked 20 years on this book, but it was really finished in the 4 years when I started working at NYU, at the Brown Institute. I found there the intellectual stimulus which allowed me to finish this book. So it was published at MIT Press, but recently, just 2 months ago, it has been published in Chinese, Chinese publisher, and in Portuguese in Brazil. So I'm very happy with this. The substance of the book is that cities are about people. It's not infrastructure, it's not the building, it's the people who are there. And the infrastructure and the building are there to serve the people where they are and where they decide to locate in the city. So the infrastructure has to serve the people where they are and not distribute the people and the job along the infrastructure that we prefer to build. I think this is one of the most important things. This has consequences. If cities are mostly a labor market, there are many other things about that, but the labor market is the foundation of everything we like about cities. Then it means that things like again infrastructure, water supply have to serve those labor market, and there are two things which are really absolutely important for the labor market to work. One is housing affordability, so that people can locate makes trade-off from the best location for them, and it's transport. So here we will see on some of the slides. And with some of the slides, we will see things about the efficiency of labor markets. It goes in a way against the recent ideas which were developed, to my shame, in the city of Paris, the 15-minute city, where the idea is that planners are skilled enough to put any, the job you want in 15 minutes of your house, walking, by the way. In the case of Paris, it's walking distance, not even bicycle. And where, in fact, what I observe is that labor markets are such that, in fact, it's transport which has to be fast enough and efficient enough so anybody within a metropolitan area can reach the best job for this person. And every employer in a metropolitan area can reach the employee that they want and the special skill that they want. So it's a little different from, so this efficiency of very large labor market, in a way, and again, mixed with housing affordability are the main theme of the study I did. So here, very often I run into, I work still a lot as a consultant in many cities in the world, and very often asked to review master plans, something like that. And I find more and more utopian cities. People like to develop utopian cities. Utopian cities, something like a dream, give you something where everything is shiny, work well, and so it doesn't matter because those utopian cities are never implemented, but they are an enormous distraction from the real problems. And we can't afford those distractions. So, for instance, this utopian Paris, a 15-minute walk city, there's nothing wrong with having a grocery store within 15 minutes. Actually, in Paris, you have something like 50 grocery stores within 15 minutes. Where I disagree is that planners have a way, they say, we are going to reconstruct Paris so that everybody will have a job within a walking distance of 15 minutes. This is an absurdity. Thanks God, of course, it's just a slogan because the region of Paris is building 200 kilometers of subway. By the way, the first time that Paris will have a subway which will link suburbs together, usually. So, in a way, again, this is a why fight utopia if they are not implemented? Again, it's a distraction. A lot of people believe that this is the way to go, and I think that we should do that. The efficiency of labor market require, when you talk about very large labor market, require maybe revising a bit our idea about transport. Instead of having, many people in transport have a pet means of transport. It could be bicycle, it could be walking, it could be subway, it could be telepheric, by the way. I think that the ideal mode of transport is all transport. There are many modes which should be not necessarily competing with each other, but working together. For instance, here I have an example on the, here we have it's a Toyota electric car, which is tested in the suburb of Tokyo and Governor of France for some reason. And then here it's a little gizmo on this motorcycle is something which is illegal in China, but working. It's a spontaneous thing again, spontaneous order. And it brings people from the latest subway station to where they live. And they all have a telephone, so when you take the subway, you can call your preferred motorcycle there, wait for you at the station, bring you to the subway. I think that this combination is probably one of the best systems, and we have to develop that. The other things I've been working on, very intrigued, is a new form of urbanization, which developed mostly in Asia. I've seen it mostly in Asia. For instance, the Greater Bay Area, which was called before the period of Delta, that's the area Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, which contain now 90 million people on an area of 80 miles by 80 miles. You imagine a population larger than the size of Germany within a commuting distance of each other. And this creates supply chain and an economic entity which is unmatched. I will remind you that the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, which is the closest thing to a cluster city that we have in the United States, is only 6 million people. So it's more than an order of magnitude higher than that. And I think that the Chinese have understood that the potential of such type of urbanization, and they are trying to develop transport which will allow this large entity to be integrated labor market. Right now, the transport system is such in the Bay that you could say that it's fragmented in 2 or 3 labor market. If they manage to have a transport system which integrates that in one labor market, that means that you could go from any part of the Bay, the Bay, to another part in less than 1 hour, one way. They will have a fantastic, innovative, and collective entity that we have never seen before. Now, I see emerging in Asia other like that, like Delhi, for instance. The metropolitan around Delhi is relatively similar. Unfortunately, right now, I don't think that the municipalities which compose Delhi are looking at it as an integrated labor market. They are more trying, let's say, to even to fight it. They think it's true, it's very complex to run. Finally, housing affordability. All this can work only if workers and firms can move freely in and out of metropolitan area. And this is possible only if land is affordable. For land to be affordable, of course, it has to be linked with infrastructure. One of, I think, the major problem with housing authorities in many metropolitan areas, that they consider housing as a number of square meter of floor space and a number of square meter of lot. And location is important. So if you want to do cheap housing and maximize, let's say, the size of the house for poor people, the tendency is to go very far away from the center where land is cheap. You forget there that housing is part of the labor market. A house is a location from where you are going to work every morning. So you cannot separate a housing unit from the labor market. So here, for instance, we have example sorry, we have example in Mexico where the government was very aware of the necessity of housing affordability, and they gave a lot of subsidies to both developers and also householders, but they developed housing units so far away from the accessibility to job that people who have paid for those houses abandoned them. In the suburb of Mexico, there are 150,000 new dwelling units which have been paid for, which are abandoned because they are not within the reach of the labor market. And again, because of this vision of a house as an amount of sports place and a building lot. So finally, we have also this again this utopian cities which spring all the time. You know, the most talked about is of course the line in Saudi Arabia, Neom, but there are many others. This is a new. It's not a new city, but it's a new suburb in Qatar, in Istanbul, which is designed by one architect. And again, it's utopian in the sense that there is no market there. One architect decide on the size of plot, the shape of the city, and consider it a bit as a sculpture. You see, and now Salah Hadid is a wonderful architect. I think that when you change scale, you have to also change design, and certainly those mega structures are very, very destructive of any individual initiative. So, sorry, this is, thank you very much. This was my